Emily and David, welcome to A House for Arts. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
It's great to be here.
Tell me about the Troy Foundry Theatre. What is its mission? What does it set out to do?
So the Troy Foundry Theatre was co-founded by myself, David, Girard to my left, and another one of our colleagues, Alexander Tarantelli, in 2017. And the mission at that time, as well as today, remains to address the social issues that we face on a daily basis in Troy specifically, as well as nationally. And we deal with that through a means of devising and creating all new work from the ground up. So we are a company that tends to not focus on plays that have already been written. Okay. We like to create our own new work around the themes that are really important and prevalent in the moment.
Yeah.
We're also very site-specific. We've been able to secure, we've been in 35 different locations in and around Troy and the Capital Region in the last 3 years, a little over 3 years. So a lot of our work, our immersive work, is site-specific, but we do now occupy the historic Trojan Hotel downtown, so we're planning on producing out of there a bit more, but still having a mission where we do want to kind of open up these places that aren't usually theatrical places and turning them into theatrical spaces.
What is the advantage of doing something like that? It sounds like you have a particular methodology to choosing the spaces. You said you're site-specific. Can you flesh that out a bit more for us?
Yeah, so when we say site-specific, the easiest way that I think I can explain that is the piece of work that we end up creating, it is embedded in the location that we perform in, and vice versa. So the story is affected by the location is affected by the story. They work in essence as a unit. And when we create, I think David can speak a little more to this, but when we build from the ground up, that location often becomes almost a character in the story. It is that important as we bring an audience on a very new and different experience.
Yeah, a very specific example of that would be a production that we did last year called Yellow, which we had workshopped through the Elizabeth F. Murray Foundation on a farm in Argyle, New York in August, and then got together, this was a co-production with another company we work with in Philadelphia called Diecast Philly. They also devise and do a lot of immersive work. And so we worked together to build a piece inspired by H.P. Lovecraft and Gothic writings. And it was very loose. We came up with a very physical and sonic score going into our rehearsals. And then once we were in rehearsals, we started to write. But once we chose our place, which was in the Trojan Hotel, which was originally this old Victorian hotel, the hotel really really impacted the way that we were doing our writing and really became a character. Like my character ended up being a bellhop, somebody who becomes sort of a bellhop. But the stories were very strange and existential, and as you went from room to room, you were sort of sometimes moving from different period to different period. Yeah. It wasn't all set.
And that's really how a lot of our work kind of moves. Our audience is never sitting in a traditional theater seat. They're,
okay.
I won't say never, but typically they're, pandemic affects that a great deal. But if we're producing the way that we love to produce, people are up on their feet, they are following characters, they are making their own choices about how they experience the story. Okay. And so that's, to us, that's what's really different about our work. You're not just sitting and watching something happen, you're actually engaging in it, and you're surrounded by the world. Yeah. And it becomes kind of an all senses experience. And we have Brenna Geffers of Diecast Philly to thank for a lot of our training in that area. She and her company, when we first launched, they were very vocal and useful in us developing our own craft aesthetic. Yeah. And so, we look to them with a loving eye when we think of how we've crafted our aesthetic over time.
Yeah, Philadelphia is our cousin city. Basically, we call them our cousins. Right. And they, really helped us develop a Troy Foundry Theatre specific aesthetic. And the work wants to be 360 degrees. And so the audience is basically immersed within and around the actors.
People, they honestly are just very excited to get to do something like that, something that's so different, with not a lot of rules and not a lot of no's. You know, I'm our producing executive director, and typically I'm the one that says, like, no, this is too much money, or yes, this is perfect, and we tend to do a lot with a little.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we pride ourselves on since 2017 when we launched. We have built a niche for ourselves in the Troy community that is really important.
Yeah.
And
tell me a little bit about your connection to community then, because it sounds like you're also, even in just the productions themselves and the performances, you're blurring the boundaries between art and life, right?
Yep.
So tell me a little bit about your engagement with the community.
Just in our own community on 3rd Street, where we are at the Trojan, we had been doing a lot of outreach in August and September. In Barker Park, the city decided to pull the benches out of Barker Park. It caused a bit of a controversy.
Right.
So we started this sort of like low-level,
public art project.
Yeah, good trouble kind of a minor civil disobedience art project where we were bringing chairs to the park and offering the people that were homeless to sit, but also making sure that anybody that was going there had Narcan on them, had food, had snacks, had water,
right.
And could get them in touch with any county service that they weren't necessarily comfortable contacting.
Right. Prevention counselors, and we were also, we work with a group called Equality for Troy, and a lot of them are trained in intake. And so, you know, when the pandemic hit and there wasn't a lot that we could do in the way that we are used to and skilled to do, we kind of had to reach out and find a different way to connect with the community. And from that now has spawned ideas for projects, upcoming projects.
Right.
And certainly, as I think we've always considered ourselves activist artists, but all of a sudden we were sort of thrown into a situation. I think the world has been thrown into a situation where, as artists, it's sort of put up or shut up in a way. I mean, this idea of like, well, why are you an artist? You go into grad school and you ask yourself that. This moment has offered us the opportunity to really dig deep and figure out, why am I an artist?
Right.
It's not about, for me, it's a long time ago that it was ever about the sort of high that I get from performing. Don't get me wrong, I love to perform. I love directing actors. I love being in a rehearsal room with a bunch of artists. I love the spirit of collaboration. I love building work from the ground up. All that is really, really great. But for me, the why has become so important. Like, why do that show?
Yeah.
I mean, that's why we don't do a lot of extant work, because unless we're going to recontextualize and reground it, I'm not sure what the point is of doing something that's already written, that's already been brilliantly done.
Right, you're already working with what you have at hand, from the audiences to the local communities. You're basically making almost a collective story, in a sense.
And for us too, I think, understanding who and what Troy is first, our community, even on our street, even on just 3rd Street, because that park is right up the road, that was really important to us. Because then that may expand, sure, but for now it was really important for us to sort of like put our roots down and figure out who we are as a company and how do we want to connect with the community in a really meaningful way.
Right. A lot of our programming is free. We do 2 to 3 main stage productions a year that we'll charge $20 a ticket for, and everything else we do is 100% free to the community. Most recently, we were performing outside in a parking lot because that's the only place that we could safely perform.
Right.
We kept going, and we found ways to do it safely, and we put up a production in the parking lot next to the Trojan Hotel. It's actually owned by E. Stewart Jones, Hacker Murphy Jones law firm, and
who we love, by the way,
who we love,
because they're amazing.
Yeah.
Just amazingly supportive. Just amazingly supportive.
Well, that sounds really amazing. Thank you so much for telling your stories. And where can people find more information about the Troy Foundry Theatre and what you're going to be doing for the future?
So we are on Facebook, we are on Instagram, and you can find us at www.troyfoundrytheatre, that's theater with an R-E.com.
Great. Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure having you on A House for Arts.
Thank you so very much.